Welcome back. You're watching NDTV with me, Rishika Barua. This is the show where you can call in with your questions related to the coronavirus, the do's and don'ts, what is social distancing, whether you should wear a mask or whether you shouldn't. And joining me on the broadcast are doctors, specialists and experts who will be taking on your questions. We have Dr. Neeraj Nischal. He's an Associate Professor, Department of Medicine from AIIMS. Appreciate you being with us. Dr. Anita Sethi is also joining us on the broadcast. She's the head of Ophthalmology from Fortis in Gurugram. So these are two doctors joining us. We're also expecting to be joined by Dr. Bhushan in just a short while from now. Our phone lines are open. The number is flashing there on your screens. You can call us and tell us if you have any questions or queries, and the doctors on the show will take it on. If I can, take the liberty of asking the first question, Dr. Sethi, to you. There's a lot of discussion and debate over whether masks should be worn or not. Today, the mayor of LA has announced that, everybody, all 4 million people living in Los Angeles should be wearing masks, even if they are homemade masks. In India, it isn't compulsory. What's your take? Should people wear masks even if they are homemade masks or, masks with a handkerchief? Does it actually help in preventing contacting the virus?
I actually think that it really will help in containing the spread of the virus, because the biggest problem with this virus is that it is very easily spread. And when patients are most, or when the cases are most infective, is in the early stages of the disease. And at that time, they may be asymptomatic. So we may have many asymptomatic carriers or cases who are roaming around, and they would be spreading the disease. So I think it's very important for the asymptomatic people to wear the masks. The healthcare professionals obviously have to wear better masks, either the surgical masks or the N95. But the general population can really contribute by every time whenever we go out, everybody should wear a mask.
Right.
It's basically I protect you and you protect me. So I think this is...
Dr. Neeraj, do you agree? There's also a mask etiquette. You can't touch the mask. You should, wear the mask in a particular way, use disposable masks, or if you're using a mask on a daily basis. What are some of the do's and don'ts, Dr. Neeraj?
Yeah, it's very important that now this discussion has shifted whether everybody should wear masks or not. To be very frank, the most important aspect will still remain social distancing, hand hygiene, cough etiquettes, and if you add mask to that, definitely it's going to help. But at the same time, like you taught, mask etiquette is again another important thing which has to be kept into mind. Like I said, most of the common people are not used to wearing masks, so they will feel a sense of suffocation and they will have tendency to keep on touching these masks. So I still feel the symptomatic persons, those who are symptomatic, should definitely wear a mask, and normal people, while going out to public places when the need arises, they should try to wear masks, and if possible, they should avoid those places. But if they are wearing masks, they have to follow do's and don'ts. Don't keep on fiddling with your mask. If you are coughing, do not remove mask and cough and then put it back. So you have to cough inside that mask only. And if you have to reuse it, then again, what type of mask it is? If it is if a cloth mask, then of course you'll have to wash it, dry it in sun, and then maybe you can think of using it. But normal medical mask, I don't think you will be able to use it again.
All right. Our first caller, Ravi Sehgal, is on the phone line from New Delhi. Go ahead, Mr. Sehgal.
Good evening, doctor. First of all, thank you very much for all the services you are providing to the society. My question is, does the virus multiply on surfaces once it is out of the host, say on bed sheets or any kind of surface? Does it multiply? Second question is, how long does the virus survive in the dead bodies or the people who succumb to it? And if you can take my third question as well, how is the virus getting transmitted from asymptomatic people who are not coughing or sneezing?
All right. Dr. Neeraj, do you want to sort of begin? How long does the virus survive on surfaces? That's a question that a lot of people have asked.
Yeah, the first question was whether it can divide outside human body or not. So the answer is no. It cannot divide outside any human being. It can survive on the surface depending on the type of surface, depending on the ambient temperature, humidity. A lot other factors are into account regarding the survival, but it cannot divide outside human body. So it will require a human body to divide. Second question was, how can asymptomatic person transmit this virus? So like I said, if we are in habit of touching our nose, mouth, and these type of habits, so these hands get infected. And sneezing is a common thing, which asymptomatic or symptomatic, any person can sneeze. So again, these droplets coming out from your nose and mouth, these are the source of infection. So even asymptomatic can sneeze and transmit these viruses. And third question was regarding whether they can, how long will it survive inside a dead body? Again, it's really difficult to tell exact duration till which it can survive. But yeah, possibility of its survival inside a dead body is there. That's why specific recommendations have been made how to dispose of the bodies.
All right. Our next caller, Rashmi Chaudhary, is joining us from Jalgaon. Go ahead, Ms. Chaudhary. Ms. Chaudhary, can you hear me? Rashmi Chaudhary joining us from Jalgaon. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead, ask your question.
हाँ मैम, मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि अभी जो हम मार्केट से फ्रूट वेजिटेबल लाते हैं तो उन्हें किस तरह से क्लीन करके यूज करें?
All right, Dr. Sethi, do you want to take that on? Any particular process which is, different from the ordinary in how we treat fruits and vegetables bought from the market?
Well, the important part is that the fruits and vegetables, if you bring them in a plastic bag, now, as Dr. Neeraj said, the droplets or the fomites can be on plastic and can stay for up to 2 to 3 days. So best to go shopping with a cloth bag so that you can wash the bag afterwards. The vegetables only need to be washed with water. There isn't any evidence that the virus can actually sort of subsist on the vegetables. So you just need to wash them nicely and, of course, cook the vegetables. But it's important that the bag that's come in and the person who went to get them. So you should usually have one person shopping. And if it's come in a plastic bag, be very careful to dispose of that plastic bag properly. And preferably go shopping with a cloth bag would be much better. And if you're going to crowded markets, you have to take precautions there. And I would say wearing a face mask, if you're in a crowded area, is still a good idea. It doesn't mean you stop all the other hand hygiene or everything else, but it gives some protection from the fomites that might come up.
It's not just a process that needs to be followed with vegetables and things being bought, but the person going out and purchasing any essentials also needs to be extremely careful. Saeed from Sopor is joining us as well. Saeed, go ahead, ask your question.
Thank you very much for giving me some time. My question is whether COVID-19 has a potential to contaminate the drinking water, milk or some curd, and the consequences that can arise post its consumption.
All right, Dr. Neeraj, do you want to take that on? What about COVID-19 and liquids? Can it come into these liquid substances and therefore enter the body? What are the dangers?
So possibility of that is definitely there. I think he was talking about drinking water. Can it be contaminated or not? The drinking water which is being supplied everywhere, that is being processed. So the chances of it coming to your house through proper channel of water should not be a problem. But yeah, if you have some liquid which you are consuming and somebody has sneezed or somebody had coughed inside that, it can be a source of infection as of now. So you should not be taking chance on that.
All right. Jogeshwar Rao from Hyderabad is dialing in as well. Go ahead, Mr. Rao.
Good evening, Rishika and doctors. I'm an admirer of NDTV since decades, living up to its standards. Thank you very much for your contribution, bringing the world-class experts to our living rooms.
Thank you, sir. If you could ask your question, please.
Actually, my family is 2+2 suffered from bronchial, that is allergic bronchitis, you can say. My 2 children grown up with these attacks.
All right.
And they were given up to the ages of approximately 15 years until immunity developed, they were given this betnosel, deriphyllin, and aspirin, combination of intravenous. So now son is cured, it seems, and daughter is living on inhaler, that is airborne.
All right. I'm gonna just ask one of the doctors to then take this question on. What about patients with a predisposed condition to lung infections or bronchitis?
So anybody with any kind of a chronic condition, lung condition, chronic kidney disease, chronic heart disease, they are all a little bit higher at risk than the natural normal population. Yes, Dr. Neeraj, do you feel the same?
Dr. Neeraj, any precautions that they should be taking?
So that's why we always say those patients who have comorbidities, like say the caller just said has lung condition like bronchial asthma, or patient has COPD, for that matter, hypertensive, diabetic. These are patients at risk. So these are the patients who should keep themselves away from others, should avoid going out, and
the same would apply. The same would apply to children, doctor. The question was, pertaining to Mr. Rao's children.
Yeah, even for children, of course, these are the ones who may face risk. Though we have seen that children are doing relatively better as compared to adults as far as this infection is concerned.
But still, the same precautions should apply. All right, Mr. Amar is joining us from Vadodara. Go ahead.
Good evening, doctor. I just want to ask only one question: whether there is any effect of alcohol in a situation like this, and secondly, how do you suggest and what do you suggest for non-vegetarians?
All right. So, any dietary restrictions, doctors? If you want to take it on, especially consumption of alcohol, non-vegetarian food, recommended, not recommended?
We have been saying that this is a myth that alcohol is going to protect you from this virus. Somebody has been WhatsApping that, okay, you gargle with alcohol and you will be safe. So that is a strict no, because alcoholics have chances of aspiration, and in fact this may prove more dangerous to them. So definitely have to avoid alcohol. As far as non-veg is concerned, as long as it is cooked properly, I see no reason why one should not be eating non-vegetarian food. So if it's a properly cooked food, of course, go ahead and eat non-vegetarian food. There is no restriction or any advice against eating non-veg food.
Alcohol consumption in moderation and no restriction on non-vegetarian food as long as it is well cooked. Anil Jain, next caller from Delhi. Go ahead, Mr. Jain.
Yeah. My question is that the milk we receive in glass bottle or milk pouch, can the virus survive on the surface of the milk pouch, plastic milk pouch or glass bottle? If it can survive, then how do we use this milk?
All right. Dr. Sethi, you answered the allied question on vegetables as well.
So even the milk packets, they are plastic packets. The virus can survive. So you must wash. Now the closed milk packet you can wash very well with the soap and water. And the bottles also, you wash the bottle, but the milk inside is fine. So you just use the milk the way you would use it, boil it and use it.
So important to, in a certain sense, sanitize the surface and the contents inside, as long as they're well packaged, would remain the same. Avinash from Bhopal is our next caller. Go ahead.
Good evening, all of you. I'm Avinash calling from Devas, Madhya Pradesh.
All right. Go ahead, sir.
My question is the coronavirus, is the virus in the atmosphere? Is it in the air? Because our local authorities have been, time and again, they have been asking us to keep our doors and windows closed. I don't understand what the connection is. Could you please explain?
All right. Dr. Neeraj, do you want to explain that? I mean, keeping your doors and windows closed and the virus being airborne, I think that there ought to be some clarity there.
No, this needs clarification. Of course, you can keep your doors and windows open. That should not, basically this virus cannot enter on its own to your house unless somebody is coming inside with it. So closing doors and windows is not advice which we are giving to people. And this virus can survive in air for only, you can say for some time only when you are coughing and sneezing, and at the distance won't be more than 1 meter. So it's a slightly heavier particle. It will settle down on its own. So it's not going to stay in air for a long time. That's what we are working on right now on this theory. So I don't think closing doors and windows is advisable as
So
such.
not closing doors
Unless
and
for
windows,
some
but
other
Dr.
reason.
Sethi, do you just want to add the bit? Because, you know, when I asked you about masks, you said that it is still advisable to take precautions and wear masks, especially when you're in public places, because there could be particles that could be suspended in the air as well.
No, that's not what I said. I said the asymptomatic person might be, even while talking, throwing out some droplets, and when they land on surfaces, those are fomites. So you wear the mask to prevent that. It is definitely not an airborne disease. It is a droplet infection. The droplet with the virus inside it should either fall on you or on some surface which you touch for the next person to get infected. So it is droplets, and droplets are large. That's why even a cloth mask can prevent the droplets from going out from an infected person and even coming in. Viruses can go in and out of the masks.
All right. But in a nutshell, to answer your question, you can leave your doors and windows open. Of course, you have to take precautions when you're in public places. OIS is calling us from Delhi. Go ahead.
Good evening. First and foremost, I would like to thank NDTV for this great initiative. My question is, people having history of viral infections like acute tonsillitis, how vulnerable are these people to COVID-19? And what more extra precautions they need to take?
Dr. Neeraj, you answered a question, allied question a short while ago. Extra precautions for those with predisposed respiratory conditions.
Sorry, the disease I could not hear. But anyway, if you have any comorbidity which predisposes you to any sort of infection, you are advised to take extra precautions. So,
I think the disease was bronchitis, sir.
Yeah, bronchitis, of course, any lung disease, of course, you have to take precaution, extra precaution, basically. Everybody has to take precaution, but you have to take extra precaution. Try to avoid social gathering or any crowd.
All right. Our next caller, Norman, is on the phone line from Calcutta. Go ahead.
Yes, doctor. I'm 76 years old. I'm an arthritis patient, and I was given hydrocodone 200 mg in 2017 for more than a year. Can I take that again now, or is it not good for me?
All right, Dr. Sethi, do you want to take that on?
Yeah, well, hydroxychloroquine, which is right now being discussed as a prophylaxis or a preventive measure for COVID-19, the ICMR has very clear guidelines on this. It is only to be given to healthcare workers directly exposed to the patients or to contacts of the cases, the caregivers for the cases who are in quarantine. And that too, it should be given only under there are certain diseases where, conditions where it can have side effects. So the physician who's looking after should only recommend. So I don't advise anyone to just take it as a precaution unless it is under medical or a physician's guidance.
All right. Yash from Siliguri joining us on the broadcast. Go ahead, Yash.
Yes, ma'am. So my question being is, we have seen a huge exodus of students, especially going back to their hometown. And what I want to know is what should be the line of action taken by the government to sort of, ease down the lockdown and, make life go as usual.
All right. That's more of an opinion there, Dr. Neeraj. Do you want to answer that?
So it's not the decision or efforts of government which is required at the moment. I will say it's this effort from you and me. What are we supposed to do? Not the government. Government has given the policy. It's up to you to decide. I have always been saying this virus has no legs. It has no wings. It cannot fly to places like that. It's you and me who is providing a vehicle for transmission. So it's us who have to act now. We have been talking about social distancing, staying at home, avoiding crowding, and avoiding all non-essential visits to hospitals, so as to ensure that this virus is contained and whatever side effects it's having, that is being mitigated.
Absolutely, and containment is key, and that's dependent on each individual to abide by the lockdown that has been imposed at the moment. Nisar is joining us from Srinagar. Go ahead, Nisar.
Good evening, doctors. I'm Nisar from Srinagar. My question is regarding the portals of entry of the virus. As of now, we have been given to understand that the virus can get into our body through the portal of through nose, through air, or through mouth. My query is that if a person is having a scratch or wound on any part of the body, does he possess the chances of contracting the virus through those cuts or wounds?
Dr. Sethi, do you want to take that on?
No, the virus is only going to enter through the nose, mouth, and nasopharynx. So it is not going to come in through any cuts or burns. So we basically have to be most careful about touching our eyes, nose, mouth, because that is where it is going to, and our face, that is where it is going to enter from. So as we say, don't touch men, M-E-N, mouth, eyes and nose. That's what you have to avoid touching.
All right. Lakshmi from Bengaluru is on the phone line. Go ahead, Lakshmi.
Yeah. I'm Lakshmi calling from Bangalore.
Go ahead.
So I just want to inquiry about this. If we buy so many things from the department store or all that, so how do we sanitize everything? Like what you said before, we can when we use the milk and all packets and all that, bottles and all, so we can sanitize and use it outside. So how do we sanitize everything what we buy from the thing?
I think Dr. Sethi, you'd answered that question earlier as well on what is the protocol that you follow? Is it practically possible to sanitize each and every packet that you buy from the grocery store? Same applies to vegetables.
Well, it is difficult to sanitize each and every packet. Well, what you can do is that some of the packets that you get, you can just leave them and not use them for about a couple of days. Because the virus will, if it is there on the packet, it is not going to survive beyond that. So as much as you can clean, you should clean. And what you can't clean, just leave it aside and only bring it out after 2 days.
All right. Siddharth from Rajkot, our last caller on the broadcast. Go ahead, Siddharth.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. Go ahead.
My question is, if somebody has been diagnosed with COVID-19, is treated, and he comes back home, does he have a chance of getting it again?
All right. Dr. Neeraj, do you want to take that on? Relapse of COVID-19?
So, like whenever body gets an infection, it develops antibody. And usually that antibody gives protection against future infection from that virus. So, we have no reason to believe that these patients will again redevelop this disease if exposed to that. So, what I feel that those patients who have already been treated and they have been cured of this disease, they should not be contracting this disease in near future.
All right. So there is, of course, it's always better to err on the side of caution. But thank you so much to both Dr. Neeraj Nischal and Dr. Anita Sethi. You've been very patient and kind to take on all the questions. We've had viewers dialing in from across the length and breadth of India. Keep your questions coming in and we'll hope to keep answering them. Thank you so much for watching.